This is a Scientist Among Us, and once again, we're looking at the factors that affect obesity risk. In this episode of Hypotheses on Obesity, we're going to explore the connection between accessibility to fresh food, food prices, and the risk of obesity. So, as Bill Nye likes to say, consider the following. If you don't have access to fresh food, you're probably going to eat junk food. You're probably going to eat fast food. You're probably going to eat food that's not good for you, food that's high in sugar and low in nutrient quality, and this is probably going to increase your likelihood of becoming obese. So, does this actually pan out in population level data? That's the question we're going to be exploring. In the USA, there's a weird phenomenon called food deserts. Food deserts are low income neighborhoods in urban areas that have no real accessibility to good quality produce. They don't really have many supermarkets, and as a result, people that live in food deserts tend to eat a lot of fast food. And this is weird because this is the first time in history that we're seeing higher rates of obesity in lower income families as opposed to higher income families. That is incredibly weird because historically it's the higher income families that can afford more food, and as a result, they eat more food. But in the USA today, it's the low income families with the higher rates of obesity. In 2014, there was an article in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine entitled Distance to Store, Food Prices, and Obesity in Urban Food Deserts. This was conducted by the RAND Corporation and the University of Illinois at Chicago. Now, I've been getting more and more into checking author affiliations because it'll tell you what kind of bias and what their view of the world is. This is not a food company, so there's definitely no conflict of interest at all to the data that they're reporting, and these are publicly funded institutions, so I think this is about as objective as we're going to get. So this study utilized a database called the Pittsburgh Hill Homewood Research on Eating, Shopping, and Health. The acronym for this is FRESH, and this makes sense because they were trying to understand the shopping habits in two low-income majority African American neighborhoods without a supermarket. So they're looking at actual food deserts and they're trying to understand when people buy fresh food, for example. And they're trying to correlate it with things like socioeconomic factors, and they're trying to correlate it with distance to supermarkets outside the community. They're trying to communicate it with the price of food, the price of junk food, because if food that's good quality is too expensive, can you really expect people to choose the good quality food over the junk food? And there's this giant database that was compiled from these interviews, and this was used to try and understand the issue. One pieces of interesting data that stood out to me was when they tried to correlate different factors amongst themselves without relating it to obesity. So they looked at the correlation between distance to store, price of staples like rice and bread, the price of junk food, and the price of fruits and vegetables. So interestingly, the further you went away, the cheaper all three of these categories got. So staples like rice and bread and good quality staples decreased the further you went out of the community. The price of fruits and vegetables and fresh produce also decreased, but the price of junk food also decreased the distance you went as well. So this posed an interesting question. If people were willing to go farther to get food, are they going to choose cheaper junk food or are they going to choose cheaper fresh food? So when they correlated obesity, they looked at the number of obese individuals per family, and they correlated with distance that the family travels to actually buy food. And they found that the further the family traveled, the higher the odds of obesity. And that's quite interesting. This means that even if the family is willing to travel much further to get food, that family has a higher odds of being obese, which suggests that they're more likely to buy junk food. So to look at this further, they also looked at price. So if there was a significant price difference between healthy food and junk food, meaning that healthy food was way more expensive than junk food was, there was a higher chance of being obese. And interestingly enough, they found that there were two different types of stores that these families were shopping at, and they categorized these stores into low price stores and high price stores. Families that shopped at the high price stores were 36% lower in odds of being obese. So if you shopped at a more expensive store, you were less likely to become obese. And this suggests that there's a difference between low price versus high price stores. And in the low price stores that they looked at, they found that there were on average 7.7 displays that promoted healthy food, while in the high price stores, there were 20.2 displays on average that promoted healthy food. And this means that in the high price stores, there was just simply a higher promotion and better marketing for healthy food. And that might be what's making this whole difference. So the families are willing to travel further to get food, but they'll obviously choose to go with the lower price store as compared to the higher price store because why wouldn't you pay less for food if you can? But unfortunately, the lower price stores, they don't market healthy food as well. So this explains the importance of marketing. And that to me is actually quite striking because before I actually read this paper, I had no idea the effect of marketing on the rates of obesity. And this is a whole new area for me because normally I'm looking at biochemistry and I'm a hard science person. Now, in looking at the importance of marketing in promoting awareness of obesity and promoting good eating practices and ending this obesity epidemic, there's been this movement for sustainable farming and increasing the accessibility to food and understanding food shortages and things like that. And pretty soon, I'm actually going to have on some guests who are going to talk about aquaponic farming. And that's an interesting way to bring farming into urban areas. And this might be a way to solve food desert problems. So it's not just understanding the science. In ending the obesity epidemic and improving health in our communities, we also have to look at marketing. We also have to look at awareness. And we have to look at price because people will prefer to shop in lower income, not lower income, but lower price stores. So if you followed me up till now, thank you for watching this episode of Hypotheses on Obesity. I'm a scientist among us, and don't forget to breathe.